Hello, guys. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are at. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming to Thriving SMEs channel. We are always delighted to share content. We are always delighted to share with you different and various content that will help you or will help us run our businesses better. I'm yours truly, Mr. Smart Hub. And before we proceed to the topic of the day, I just want to say thank you so much for subscribing to this channel, for liking, for commenting, for even sharing our content. We continue pleading with you. Please continue subscribing, continue sharing, continue engaging or patronizing our products, the Thriving SMEs channel, for even more content. It's encouraging. And we are praying and requesting, kindly help us get to 1,000 subscribers before end of January. I know it's possible by your help, and you're always thankful for your support. We're always thankful for the time you take to watch and listen to our content. We are at the beginning of the year 2025, and one of the things that most of us do, or most of us do at the beginning of the year, there's always a resolution or an idea. You want to say, I want to start a business. I want to start business A, I want to start business B, I want to start it the other. And I keep saying, things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And us here at Smart Up Consulting, we help you start right and remain right all through your business. We are the hand that will hold you in different aspects of your business to see that it thrives. And we don't want you to have a surviving business. We want you to have a thriving business for all of us here in Kenya, because you're supposed to live in abundance, not even sufficiency. But that's a story for another day. So today, I want us to deal with the issue of business registration, what it is about and why it's important, and the different forms of businesses that you can register here in Kenya. And to start with, business registration in Kenya has become quite easy. With the online platform that we have, this what is called the e-citizen, it makes it very easy to register a business, and also very fast. Before the online platform came, we used to spend months before you do a name search, you do a name reservation, you do the paperwork on registration. So it used to take quite a bit of time. But now with the online platform, it's become quite easy. Actually, nowadays, you just need to open what is called an e-citizen account, which can be opened by a Kenyan with an ID. Even foreigners will have what is called a foreigner's identification document. And once you open that, there are quite a number of government services you can access, one of them being the business registration service, what is called the BRS. Once you log in, you look for the BRS platform, and from there, that's when you'll be able to register your business. That will be step number one. And to register that account, basically you just need an ID, which you verify the details during the process. Once you put your ID number, they're able to verify your names and all that. You input your email address, your phone number, and you're done. That's quite a very fast step to undertake. It takes less than a minute, but at times you find it challenging because our ID details might not really auto-populate or might not be readily available in the e-citizen platform. So you might be required to maybe to visit the BRS offices, or to contact them, or the registration the person's registration offices, so that they can be able to update your details. But that's also takes some short period of time. So as we begin the year, my urge is for you who is already in business or want to start a business. Registering a business is very important. I want to tell you how you can register and why it's important to register. But first, let me go right into helping you understand why it's important, so that when you make that decision to register, you have an idea, or you understand what it is to register. First, when you register a business, you give it a legal recognition, and credibility. Let's say, for example, we do business under the name SmartUp Consulting. But what if you realize SmartUp Consulting is not a registered business anywhere? Maybe when we transact with you, I'll give you an invoice with no name, with no nothing. And when you're making maybe a payment, you're giving a check or something, I tell you to write the check in my name, or you send the money to my account, to my phone number. Sometimes that brings a bit of jitters, and you look like you're not very credible, and also you lack recognition, like you cannot really build the name that you're trading with. So that denies you the option to have a recognition, to be recognized as trading under that name, or you lose credibility. You look at a very shaky business, and especially with this nowadays, when we have businesses that are 100% online. So when the business is trading under this name online, but when the payment are directed to a different account name, so most of the time your customers will not be very sure who they are dealing with. And nowadays, with a lot of frauds going on, with a lot of parody accounts, somebody can duplicate your account online, your website, and all that. So for credibility purposes, it's always good to have that business registered, and then all the payment details should be in that name that you've registered. If it's SmartUp Consulting, let it be SmartUp Consulting on M-Pesa, let it be on the payment platform, on the checks and all that. Then you become a very credible, and people will have a lot of confidence when they are dealing with you. The second reason why it's important to register a business is ease of accessing credit. Maybe at some point in your business, you need some credit to maybe expand or finance your operations. Most of the time, you might look for, what are formal sources of credit. Maybe you want to go to a bank, you want to go to a microfinance, you want to go to a SACCO. And maybe one of the things they might rely on is your history. How have you been banking? Like, can we see your bank statement? Can we see your maybe a till number or a pay bill number? How money has been coming in and going out? And imagine you've been having or receiving your money or payment to your personal mobile phone. And that's where the problem begins, because they cannot really differentiate if this money was received from a personal engagement or transaction, or it was received for business purposes. What if you had a business that is registered and you also registered a till number? Okay, so a till number registered in the name of the business will automatically, any money that came into that till is automatically money that is generated from business. And that's how you build your credit worthiness. Somebody can see, really this person is generating cash flow, and it's amounting, maybe the sales in a month is this much, in a year it is this much, and you prove yourself to be a credit worthy business or borrowers. Today's, we also have what you call the digital lenders, but also they might not require all that, but they're also limited in how much they can give you. What if you're a business that's looking for a substantial amount of money? They may not be the best option for you to borrow. Also, their rates are quite prohibitive. As we talk about ease of access to credit, the more formalized, the more easy the lender is able to, verify your details. Are you able to generate cash flow? Are you able to generate revenues? Are you able to generate, can you be identified? This is the business that's for borrowing, and these are their details. It becomes easy. Even the risk levels from a lender's point will go low. But imagine you're somebody who's saying, okay, this is my mobile money account, and I receive most of the money I receive there is from business. That could be true, but it's a bit hard to verify. And it's always very easy to tell you or to do the right thing. Just register the business and have everything registered under that name. It becomes easy for you to access credit. Then the other number two, this point I'm just giving them from a general perspective, is the limited liability protection you enjoy, especially if you're going to register a limited liability business. What does limited liability protection mean? When we register, I'll come to the details of the different forms of businesses. We have one that is called the limited liability company. So when you register a limited liability business or company, you limit your liability to the extent of shareholding. So in a nutshell, it means somebody cannot, to recover a liability or a loss, they cannot go to the extent of your personal property. The liabilities are limited to the extent of their shareholding. The amount of shareholding that you have in that business, that's the much they can get from that. So let's say, for example, there's a breach of contract, or there's a liability maybe from an insurance company. KRA wants to recover their taxes. Somebody cannot come and attach or get up your personal car registered in your name to recover their liability. They can only go to the extent of what is registered in the name of the company. If the company is going to own assets, they can be registered in the name of the company, but also what is personal and private should also remain under the name of the owner. So you get protected to the extent that your personal property cannot be attached or cannot be taken for somebody to recover their liability or to recover their debt. The other issue, especially here in Kenya, we have what is called 30% access to government businesses, contract and tenders, especially for what are called the women and the youths and the people with the differently enabled. So one of the requirements that you always be asked for you to get what in Kenya we call the AGPO, access to government procurement opportunities, is the name, the registration certificate of your business. That is one. So you can imagine you can readily qualify for these government tenders or government businesses, but the only thing that stands between you and that, or can make you be denied the business opportunity, is that your business is not registered, so you cannot get an AGPO certificate. So when people under that category are being considered, is it under youth? Is it under women? Is it under people with enabled differently or and such? Definitely will not qualify, because you'll be required to upload or use a registration certificate to do what? To apply for the AGPO certificate. So you automatically be ruled out, or you don't even try, because you don't have that kind of registration. The other thing that we can also talk about is brand building and brand visibility. Let's say, for example, you want your company to be known as XYZ Enterprises, and I don't know how that would not be a very wise thing, where you continue trading under the name XYZ Enterprises, whereas that name is not even registered. So registration, first of all, you own the name. Okay, for example, I want a business that is called XYZ Enterprises. First step for me to own and to build over that name on top of the name XYZ Enterprises is, first of all, to know that name is purely mine. And how do you know that? How do you come to know that? It's by registering that name or that business under that name. So once you register that, then when you do your branding, when you want to build a brand around that name, it will be very possible, because you have the legal rights to own, or you're the one who owns the name. So when you're building around the name, it will be much easier. I've always found situation where somebody has been trading with a name, and only to, down the line, they have grown, they need to formalize things, they need to, get certification here and there. They now go back, they have to start square one, where they need to do what? They need to have the business formally registered, only to go to the registrar or to the BRS and find out that their business, actually the name they've been using, is already registered. That's a huge step backwards. And also, the possibility of you being sued for property rights is very high, because somebody will find, they say you're trying to imitate them, you want to take away businesses from them. However innocent you might be, you are at the risk of being sold for using somebody's name, even if you're ignorant or you didn't know that the name is theirs. So for you to build your brand, it's always good to know the name is mine, everything is okay, everything is going on. Even if you're going to do what are called intellectual properties, you know, to register the trademark and all that, it's always very important that, first of all, you always be asked for a registration certificate. Let's say, for example, you're doing a product that is innovative and you might want to do all those intellectual property protection and such. It's always important you always be asked for a registration certificate. So you can imagine going all the way, but then you find the name that you're using cannot be registered. And maybe people out there have already known this is the name that you use, or they have known you by this name. So it will be very challenging for you. Another point, why it's important to register your business is about succession. What do you mean by succession? Succession is how the business continues to grow, or not to grow really, but how a business continues with or without you. There are form of businesses that will end once the owner is declared bankrupt, is passes on, mentally incapacitated, and all those. But also you have a business that has what is called perpetual succession. That business is not tied to the life of the owner, but the business will continue with or without the owner. And in a legal term, we say the business is a separate legal entity. And this mostly, the issue of succession applies mostly when it comes to a limited liability company, which in law we say it's a separate legal entity. Even if the owner passes on, the business does not cease to exist. And also, you might include other clauses or other clauses when you're registering the business, such that if somebody is not there, there is somebody who can be appointed as a manager, can be appointed as a director. You can also introduce the directorship, the shareholders, as time goes by. So if you want to have that in a formal and maybe avoid disputes into the future, that's why it's important to have it registered. Because if the business is registered, then you just go to the BRS platform, you log in into your citizen and make the necessary changes. So you don't have to be tied by having what will be informal engagement or informal arrangement. Do you want your children to take over? Do you want an administrator to be there so that in case you're not there, they can run the business, or they can run the issues of the business? Do you know, there'll be a director, there'll be shareholders and all that. So the issue of succession, that the business will not go or will not be closed down the moment maybe the founder is not there. So you avoid such, and that's maybe would be very key for what are called family-owned businesses. It's a bit businesses between the husband and the wife. But as time goes by, maybe one of them is not there, or they may want the business to be, taken over by the next generation, their children, their children's children. So this one will, as time goes by, you can always make those changes in your business registration details, so that now that will be officially captured, and maybe to avoid disputes in the family, like who is the rightful owner, to what extent do they have the right to control or to own. You can allocate different children, different level of responsibility or ownership, so that now the business can be able to, thrive, like we're saying, thrive. Doesn't have to survive up to extent of your life. That is another issue that we use key when it comes to, why it's important to register your business. Another issue is the legal compliance and reduction of risk. When people, especially now, this one is when businesses are registered, you play by the rules that are laid. Is it by the county government? Is it by the national government and all that? So you comply in the issues of taxation. If there are taxes that you need to pay, you'll be able to remit. If there are, licenses to be acquired, you'll be able to acquire under the name of the business. If there are, the licenses or management requirement, like says other statutory bodies, that is the SHA, the NSSF, the NEMAs of this country, then you'll be able to comply because you'll be registering or you'll be doing them under the name of the business. When you do this compliance or you comply with the rule and the regulation of the country, what happens? You reduce your compliance risks. Let's say, for example, you've been running a hotel, maybe that is not registered or anything, or that most likely you might not even have acquired a trading license. You might not have acquired what are called the public health licenses, the registration of your premise as a workplace under the safety authority and all that. So when you register, then you get to the next step of doing things right. And you're saying, even as we're beginning the year 2025, it's always important. And this is why I encourage our business people and encourage the small and micro enterprises business. It's good to start right, like I said. Start right and you run right. And things don't start wrong. They don't go wrong. They start wrong. If you start right, the possibility of even managing the business right are very high because you're inculcating the culture of doing things right. The more you do things right, the easier it is for you to run a business, and the easier it is for you even to build a structure, a system that really works for you. One of the challenges I always find with the small and micro enterprises is what I call the owner is the business and the business is the owner. What does that mean? It means if I've not done the right things or I've not built up the proper structures in my business, let's say, for example, if I don't wake up today, like I'm ill, I'm committed somewhere, that company or that business will not be open. Or if it will be open, the people around the business don't know exactly what to do and what not to do. So I have to be there physically, I have to be there mentally for anything and everything to run, a business. And that's why you say, don't become the business and the business doesn't become you. Let the business have a life of its own and let yourself have a life of yourself. If you can make money without necessarily going to your shop or opening your business, that is the best life because you're using other people's, hands, so to say, to make money. And that is one of the best aspects of why a business is good. And you're able to make more profits, you're able to make more money. And also now in the issue of registration, you reduce your compliance issues. So in our next series, we're going to look at the different forms of business registration. And before I close, I want to say a very simple, one of the key steps when you're registering a business. Once you've opened your eCitizen account, you actually just need 5 names in order of preference. What does that mean? For example, I want to register XYZ Enterprises, and I'm not sure which one will pass. So in order of preferences mean from your most preferred name at the top, second most preferred, third most preferred, fourth up to the 5th option. So if, for example, I find I'm registering XYZ Enterprises as the most preferred, and during the BRS, when they do the search, they find it's not available, they'll go to the next name, XYZ Merchants. Let's say, for example, you're doing a sole proprietor, they'll go to the next name, XYZ Merchants. If, let's say, for example, the XYZ is not available, they'll go to the next number 3, XYZ Engineers. All they go to number 4 like that. So when you're registering that name, it's always good. That's one of the key things that you need to bear in mind, that you need 5 names in order of preference. And also another thing that is important to mention at this point is nowadays you don't have the name search and registration. So that's why you have to do 5 names at a go, and what is being called the one search and register step, such that when you give the 5 names in order of preference, you just get a notification of the name that has been reserved, and you're given time in case you want to change anything so that you can change. If you have no reservation, then the name that has been reserved, BRS will go ahead and register it. So it's always important at this point to really consider the names that you want to register and have maybe a very thoughtful process, so that you don't want to give all 5 and none of them is available. So that now also you don't want to give your most preferred name as number 5. Okay, your most preferred must always be at the top, then in that order. So that when you don't want to end up with a business that has a name that you really don't like. Though it's possible to change the details later, but it's always better if you can do it a one-off. One search, register, and get the proper name. Another thing, as I conclude this episode, is I always say, you find somebody is doing business and maybe they have given themselves a name or they don't even have a name. They do business without maybe having any registration. I always equate that to, like I said in my previous episode, somebody who has a child, but the child has no name. Imagine having a child, but you don't give them a name, because the business idea is your brainchild. And you imagine going all the way, the child goes to 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, but they don't have a name. So that's why it's important to give your business a name. In our next episode, we're going to deal with different forms of business. And just to mention, there's what is called a sole proprietor, a partnership, a limited liability company, and maybe to a bigger extent, though not in this case, that doesn't fall under SMEs, which is our area of interest, are called the public listed company. So thank you, and may you have a blessed year of 2025. May you have a thriving business. May your work, the work of your hands, be blessed. Thank you once again for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting to our contents. We don't take that for granted, and it's really valuable. As we agreed, help us get to 1,000 subscribers this year. Bye, and God bless you. From yours truly, Mr. Smart Up.